Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're going to be taking a look at Akebia Therapeutics.
Yeah, AKBA.
For sure.
I'm really interested to hear what you think about all this recent news.
Well, it certainly looks like things could be turning around for them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So let's just jump right into it. We've got their, Q4 2024 earnings, some information about like the market and Akebia.
And a technical analysis of the stock as well.
Right, yeah. And so our goal today is to kind of like take all that and then help you guys like understand what's been going on and, kind of what we might see in the future for Akebia.
Right.
Okay, so maybe we start with those Q4 earnings.
Well, they released them March 13th.
Oh, this year?
Yeah, just the other day. And they reported a loss per share of 10 cents, which was a bit higher than the 8 cents loss that was expected.
I see. But I mean, it wasn't all, bad news, right?
No, not at all. Their revenue actually beat expectations.
Okay.
They reported $46.5 million.
Which was significantly higher than the $37.36 million that had been forecast. So
yeah, I feel like, the market seemed to react well to that.
They did. The price jumped up quite a bit, 26 to 28%.
Wow, 26 to 28%.
The very next day, March 14th. And it looks like that was driven mainly by, the strong early demand that we're seeing for Vafseo.
Oh, yeah, Vafseo. That's right. Their anemia treatment.
That's right.
For chronic kidney disease patients on dialysis.
Exactly.
Seems to be doing well.
It is. They're actually projecting revenue for the first quarter of this year.
Okay.
For Vafseo to be somewhere between 10 and 11 million.
10 to 11 million already.
Yeah, they've really been laying the groundwork. They've secured contracts with a lot of the major U.S. dialysis providers.
Wow, that's huge.
It is. And it's, really essential if they want to make sure that Vafseo has a wide reach.
So, I mean, we're talking about Vafseo for dialysis patients, but what about, expanding its use?
Well, that's what makes this even more interesting. They're planning to start a phase 3 trial in the middle of this year to see if they can expand Vafseo's use to chronic kidney disease patients who aren't on dialysis.
Okay, so like a much larger patient population then?
Yeah, much larger.
Okay.
A big growth opportunity for them, potentially.
And just so I'm clear, Vafseo got FDA approval last year, right, in 2024?
Yes, that's right. And the technology behind it is quite interesting. It uses what's called HIF technology.
HIF?
Yeah, hypoxia-inducible factor.
Okay.
And basically, it works by kind of mimicking how our bodies respond when oxygen levels are low.
I see.
And that stimulates red blood cell production. So a totally different approach than some of the older anemia treatments out there.
Oh, that's really fascinating. Okay, so the earnings, the Vafseo launch, obviously pretty big deals.
Yeah.
But, what are the analysts saying? What's the market sentiment looking like?
Analysts seem pretty optimistic. H.C. Wainwright, for example.
Okay.
They have a buy rating on Akebia with a price target of $7.50.
$7.50.
Yeah, and that was back in January of this year.
Oh, wow. So that's, pretty significant upside potential from where it's at now.
It is, and it's not just them. We've seen, both retail and institutional investors showing a lot more interest in Akebia.
Interesting.
Yeah, on platforms like X, for example.
Okay.
And looking at the bigger picture, the stock has actually been doing quite well.
Yeah. Oh, so?
Well, according to Yahoo Finance,
okay,
back in November of 2024, it had outperformed the S&P 500 year to date.
Oh, wow.
By a significant margin, we're talking 61.3%.
61.3%.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
It is, but,
But we also need to look at
absolutely,
their financials and any potential risks, too.
We have to be cautious, even though the initial reaction to Vafseo has been positive.
Right.
We need to dig a little deeper and look at their overall financial picture.
You mentioned that net loss in Q3. Yes, they did report a net loss of 10 cents per share for Q3 2024.
Okay.
Which missed estimates as well.
Okay, so what about profitability generally?
Well, right now they have a negative price-to-earnings ratio of negative 7.49, which just means they're not making a profit yet.
Okay. And what about cash on hand?
As of the first quarter of last year, they had $42 million in cash.
$42 million?
Yeah. So that's something we need to keep an eye on.
Okay.
Especially with the cost of research and development.
Yeah, for sure. But on a more positive note,
right,
I saw that their gross profit margin was really high.
It is 82.29%.
82.29%.
Which is good because it means they could scale up pretty easily if their sales volume keeps increasing.
That's a good point, but I guess, competition is a factor too, right?
Definitely. They've got some rivals in the kidney disease treatment market, like Fibrogen, for example.
Okay. And I mean, and then there's just the general, ups and downs that come with, clinical trials and the FDA.
Absolutely. We're likely to see some volatility as they keep rolling out Vafseo and going forward with that phase 3 trial.
For sure. Okay, so let's move on to the technical analysis then.
Okay.
What did it tell us about how the stock's been moving lately?
Well, remember that big price jump on March 14th?
Yeah.
26 to 28%?
Right.
The stock ended up closing around $2.25 to $2.30.
Okay.
Up from the 175 to 180 range that it was trading at before the earnings came out.
That is a big move for one day.
Huge move. And the trading volume that day was enormous, too.
Really?
Way above average, more than 10 to 15 million shares compared to the usual 2 to 4 million.
Wow.
So that suggests a lot of buying interest.
So what about those moving averages? What can they tell us?
Well, the 50-day simple moving average is around $1.70 to $1.80.
Okay.
And the 200-day simple moving average is about $1.50. So the fact that the stock closed above that 50-day SMA suggests a bullish trend in the short term, at least.
Okay. Any resistance levels that we should be looking out for?
Based on what we've seen before,
Yeah.
there's likely some resistance near $2.50.
Okay, 250. And then what about momentum indicators like the RSI?
Well, after that surge, the RSI probably went up to somewhere between 65 and 70.
65 and 70.
Yeah, which is a pretty decent level, but not quite high enough to suggest that the stock's overbought.
Okay. Okay, so there might still be some room for it to keep going up.
That could be.
Okay, and then what about support levels, just in case it pulls back?
It seems like there's support around $2 to $2.10.
Okay.
And then a bit further down at the 50-day SMA.
Okay.
So around $1.75 to $1.80.
So pretty volatile then.
Definitely the beta is 2.7, which means it tends to be more volatile than the market as a whole.
2.7, that's pretty high.
It is. It's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so taking all that into account, what are some possible investment strategies based on all this information?
Well, the sources suggested a few different approaches.
Okay.
One is a short-term momentum play.
Okay.
Taking advantage of the potential for further gains if the revenue for Vafseo meets or exceeds that 10 to 11 million projection in Q1.
Right, makes sense.
But of course, with the volatility, you've got to be careful.
Yeah, definitely another one.
Another one is a longer-term growth bet.
Okay.
Basically, if that phase 3 trial for non-dialysis CKD patients goes well, which it could by late 2026,
right,
then the market for Vafseo could really open up.
Yeah.
And that would likely be very good for the stock price in the long run.
Okay, and then the last one.
The last one is an event-driven strategy.
Okay.
So focusing on upcoming events that could move the stock, like the Q1 earnings report.
Yeah.
That's due out in May.
Okay.
And any updates we get on that phase 3 trial.
Okay, so what did they actually recommend from a technical analysis standpoint?
Well, they recommend buying with caution.
Okay.
Because of a few factors.
Wow.
The breakout above those moving averages that we talked about.
Right.
The strong volume and the fact that the RSI isn't overbought yet.
Okay.
They suggested a potential entry point.
Okay.
Somewhere between 220 and 225 with a short-term target of 250 to 275.
Okay.
And a stop loss below $2 to limit your downside.
Makes sense. And then what about for, the long-term investors?
For those folks, they suggested accumulating shares while keeping a close eye on the RSI and the volume.
Okay.
But importantly, if the stock drops below $1.80,
right,
then they said to rethink the recommendation.
Gotcha. Okay, so taking everything into consideration then.
Yeah.
Akebia seems to be getting a lot of attention from the market right now.
They are.
Largely due to the launch of that new anemia treatment.
Right. And if they're able to expand into that non-dialysis CKD market, that could be a huge growth opportunity for them.
Yeah. But I mean, of course, profitability and competition, those are key factors too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And we've got to keep those in mind.
That's right. And the technical analysis does point to some bullish momentum.
Yeah.
But it also highlights how volatile biotech stocks can be.
For sure.
So, a key question is whether this initial strong demand for Vafseo is going to last and whether that phase 3 trial for non-dialysis patients is going to be successful.
Right. Right.
Definitely areas to keep watching.
Okay, so all this gives us a good snapshot,
Yeah.
based on the sources that you shared.
Right.
What else do you think we should be considering when it comes to Akebia?
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's a company to watch.
Absolutely. If you found this analysis helpful, please subscribe, like, and comment to let us know.
Completely.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks.
See you next time.